Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, who in the building? Good evening, Passport Bros. Okay, I'm gonna drop the link right now. Cool. The homie man of tomorrow, man. He been dropping some vids, man, about the Manosphere, man. So yeah, I put the link out to people, so what I mean, in the WhatsApp groups and the Facebook groups. See who just want to come up. We just gonna talk about whatever current topics. Man of tomorrow.
What's going on, man?
Oh, not much, man. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right, man. It's just that uh, we need to have more of these open topics so that way people can understand that we're not just a bunch of whoremongers and things like that. Like once we get the actual chase out of the way, that's when the real building kind of happens. Because listen, being around good-looking women is that's what the culture is supposed to provide. If it is if that's what it's about, beauty isn't something that is supposed to be extraordinary. Beauty is ordinary. That's her job. So if you're treating ordinary things like it is extraordinary, then you're going to be wasting a lot of time not on your productivity, trying to chase something or trying to game your way into something that doesn't make any sense. It is not going to be there for a long term gain for anybody.
No, I agree. I agree, brother. So tell me, I've seen some of the topics you've been discussing on your channel, and so I'm just kind of curious. What are you seeing within the manosphere? I've seen quotes about civil war. I've seen somebody use that terminology. What are your thoughts on what you see right now?
There was never a civil war here. It was just that people glommed on to an actual idea that they didn't believe in. They didn't believe in the idea of the manosphere. They came here to change something that could have been great into something that doesn't serve great purposes. Like me, I was raised as a fundamentalist Christian, and I seen what that turned into. Grandfather was a deeply, but he had to turn himself what looked like an atheist, so that way people could be able to understand what was the true Christianity versus the what was it turned into, and that's what it is. Like you have to understand that there are fundamentalists. There are going to be people who burrow into this space and turn this thing into something that it don't need to be turned into. And then you're going to have a lot of people who stand by who wait on a person to take an amount of power. But I can't be judged by YouTube analytics for what I'm actually doing. I can't do that. But if you want real growth has nothing to do with YouTube analytics. Real growth has to do with putting yourself in positions that are uncomfortable, that are new. You have to learn how to deal with other people. And that's how I made all the progress myself because I went from a guy, I didn't know that my education was severely lacking, especially when you go to other cultures. And I had to go from a guy who could barely be understood by speaking to a guy who did all the things that I could do because they have a certain perception of you. But once you get to be able to have the chance to actually compete against them, that's when they realize that they made their greatest mistake is allowing you on the stage to upstage them.
Mm, that's a good point. That's a good point. So, do you think that this space, the content creators, the manosphere or the Black manosphere, do you see growth, or do you see just we hindering? A lot of people are kind of hindering, our progress in the space.
Well, the problem is that they were never manosphere in the first place. Like that's the problem. Like it's not hard to just say that the Christians from the South from the 1700s to the 1900s were not true Christians. They were Christian because it benefited their underlying cause. They were manosphere because it benefited their underlying cause of not seeing true progress for men.
Hmm.
Like like if I go to Chinese or Arabs, they think I'm retarded because the things I talk about. But I have to explain why I have to talk about normal things according to manhood because bitchhood is take over. And that is what has happened here. Like everybody do everything to please the actual idea of a woman benefiting off of them. There's nothing here that says that there's anything otherwise.
Okay, okay. So, I want to bring up a topic that was kind of talked about in one of our Facebook groups, and it was a lot of dialogue from men, and the topic was basically why do older women try to shame men for pursuing or dating younger women? What's your thoughts on that?
Because the actual idea of black love is meant to support older women. It's not meant to support men. Because if black love was meant to support men, you wouldn't have many men who are above the age of 30, 35, 40, who never had any kids. There's nothing wrong with the dude's sexual proclivities, but there is a lot wrong with engaging in these type of circumstances when you know there are definite consequences within the environment that they have actually seen themselves or witnessed within their own family.
Yeah, it was a lot of agreement in regards to how they see women that have issues with it. Whether they um, you know th- it disrupts their message to women, saying that you should wait till you're in your 30s or 40s to settle down, but the results of that doesn't make sense because a lot of the older women don't, they're either single or single parents. So, they're preaching a contradictive message. And I think a lot of women are, they're being, it's been put in their face that their message hasn't produced results. So, you know, I think it's embarrassing. It's probably embarrassing on their end to some extent because their message they've been trying to ingrain in younger women and shame them being interested in older men isn't creating families. Because a lot of men were saying that, like you just said, um, there's men in their 30s and 40s that don't have children and they want to have children and they see a more healthy situation to have children with someone under 30. So that's do you think we'll see a culture shift in the way we date as far as younger women, with older men, or do you think is going to be pretty pretty status quo?
I mean, at this point where we're at right now, it's just that anybody trying to make deals with the people who have created this society is now your enemy at this point. Um, like, I don't have a problem with women per se. Like, I don't have a problem with buying cars, even though I haven't bought one in quite some time. But My field is transportation. So if I was going to buy a semi truck, no matter what the year is, I'm going to know a lot about the engine, the make and models, the degree of success, the actual level of productivity that it has, what the actual things that were going on with this actual year according to the industry. I'm going to know a lot about that model. And people want to show a level of restriction to people who were never restricted toward them. And it becomes the person's ideal situation that they feed themselves into the exact place where they're not supposed to be because of some racial or skin color loyalty. I'm like, dude, listen, power cares about things that operates good. They don't care about that. When you see a light skinned woman who's fine as hell, you don't care about who their parents are. You're trying to figure out how can you get them genetics in your family. When you see a light skin, and it's like we have to skip over the skin color thing and we have to go to the actual operational effectiveness of how things work. So that way we can be able to move forward with things that make sense. Because if you don't do things like that, you're going to restrict yourself to people who don't have a track record of picking appropriately or trying to create things that are actually great on the outcome.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Let me introduce someone else that just pulled up. How you doing, Alex?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I love getting into this conversation that we're in here.
Okay, okay. Where you from, and where you located? Are you in the U.S.?
Yeah, currently I'm in Kansas City, Missouri,
Kansas City,
but
Missouri.
I'm going to be doing a lot more traveling towards the end of July, all the way through winter months until probably around January.
Okay, cool, cool. So, what do you have on what's been discussed so far?
I mean, there's a lot of topics we can discuss when it comes to the manosphere and how we as Black men are perceived in the world. I mean, the only way to break that perception of the media and everything they propagate out to the world is for us to get out there. You know what I mean? So they can see the true essence of what a Black man stands for and what we are all about. We're known to be very good fathers. We're known to be compassionate to our women. There's a lot of things that we as Black men don't mind my lightness. Believe me, it's an advantage. But you know, um, I just know world perception of who we are is basically controlled by the American media. They see the worst of us, not the best. So it behooves a lot of brothers to get their passports and actually travel. I came from a background of being in the military, but even before I was in the military, I always used to go on vacations with my mom at least once a summer, and we'd be Bahamas, Jamaica, Puerto Rico. She started me off early with wanting to travel. So once I got into the Marine Corps, it was easy for me to want to go to another country. It was another experience. It was another way for me to get involved in the culture. And typically when I went to a country, I got involved with the culture. I didn't go over with an American attitude like, oh, you need to bow down. I'm better than you, blah, 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 blah. No, I wanted to get immersed in the culture, learn something from the people that were there. More like an ambassador. We as Black men need to be more ambassadorial when it comes to our travels.
True, true.
Yes, I agree with that. I am 50 miles south of you right now, sir.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're in Texas or you're in
No, no,
Oklahoma?
no. Oh, no, 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 sir. I am in Edgerton, Kansas.
Oh, well, you're real close.
That's what I'm saying. I am real close. So it's like what you're saying is that when I went overseas, they had their actual impressions, preconceived notions, but I found out that you are your best ambassador when you in person. They can have their preconceived notions all they want to, but when they see you speaking three languages and they're like, ask where you from, and I'm like, I'm from Mississippi. It's like You mean the same Mississippi? Like, yeah, that place is
Hmm.
is still
See,
true.
they already know the bad about us. They
Yeah,
already know what we've been
and
through.
it's like
Hmm.
the way you move and everything else, and people they they teach a better history about what happened in the Civil War in Germany and everywhere in Europe than they do in the United States. They
Exactly.
know what happened for real. What happened? They have no reason to lie to their people. So when better people come along, people are like, oh no, 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 no. We actually learned about this appropriately,
Hmm.
and it's like
And
I don't.
probably gave a more honest accountability of the history than
Of
the way that
course,
the American textbooks are even written.
of course. And I had a person from Texas read the actual book when I was there in Germany at Ramstein Air Force Base. And he could not believe how he was lied to about the actual history because they just dropped it. This is how it was. They had pictures, photos, everything else.
Right.
And it was like, but once you see somebody who you expect to be in a certain condition and this person is communicating on a level that you never expected because you expected the history to dictate otherwise, that's when the mind changes about the dude. That's
Right.
when the mind actually changes. And I don't have a problem with people thinking that. But it's just that, dude, if you've seen all the stuff that I've overcame, that I've actually sifted through and where I'm at right now, which I don't brag on, by the way,
Hmm.
it's like y'all gonna have to respect it because you know you was taught 6 years of actual American history. I know what they teach between seventh grade and 12th grade. I know because I was over there. And I know what they was taught. And it was like, they was like, well, how is it that we can see this image of you from American media, but when we meet US soldiers, they give off another energy that's not even the history of what it is.
Right.
They're like, this doesn't make any sense. This is very intriguing. We don't even want our men anymore. We want our men who actually give a damn about one and done. Like that's what other cultures respect, the one and done. Like other
Right.
cultures don't respect you being like if you were to explain why a woman would be on the market till she's 40 plus years old with no kids, bro, that ain't nothing you can explain to any culture people about that. You
Right.
cannot explain that to anybody, no matter where you are. So it's like a lot of people don't understand that a lot of people are merely using our circumstances against us while
Hmm.
pretending like they're for us. But they like if you want to change it, it's actual based on legislation. There was
Hmm.
legislation that led to this. I don't give
Oh,
a damn who you are. If you are truly about what you think you are about, legislation will lead you out of it. And you have to lead it as a woman. Like, if a woman says that, oh, I don't have a problem with that, then you should be supporting SYSBM and Passport Bros. If you actually care about happiness. Because you know you had your happiness your whole life. 90s R&B gave these women a hell of a leg up when it came to getting their happiness. So, listen, if
he
y'all
said the
really
90s.
want to actually help brothers out, you would just actually be like, look, these dudes need to be happy now. They need to stay away from these problematic people. And we know how it is. But if the actual idea is you're going to look at me as a one off and you're going to have to actually stay with us because of my pretend behavior, then we got a problem because I'm not dumb and nobody else is either. So,
Right.
Wow, 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 deep. So I got a question for you, man, tomorrow. Then I got a question for both of y'all.
all right.
Um, real quick, man, tomorrow. Why I got this on my head? So I was thinking about this concept a day ago. So I was thinking about how in feminism, black women supported that heavily, and one could argue that black women obviously benefited from the feminism movement,
Oh, yeah.
and a lot of the issues we have with our sisters is because they bought into that movement. So when it comes to the space for men, which I call the manosphere, and some would say it's the polar opposite of the feminine movement. How come black men don't support the movement like black women supported their movement?
Because you have to realize that we let the hood in here. That's what happened. Hood people have no morals, no decency, no sense of cause for anything. Like for a hood dude, his actual win at the end of the day is I got to hit this chick. It doesn't matter what happens afterwards, even if I get her pregnant, even if she dies, even if anything else. So you have to understand that the way women acted has actually translated into how men acted toward each other. And it was never supposed to be that way. Like if you get around cultured people, you don't see this feminine type of behavior between men. You don't see it. You don't even see it in the military. Well, you didn't see it in the military 20 years ago. Right now, today, you see it all the while. But it wasn't that way years ago. It wasn't that way when Colin Powell was in the military. It wasn't that way when General Wesley Clark was. I mean, like I could go through a number of generals that I met. It's just that people knew that being on the feminine shit as a man would it give you a leg up within black culture. Acting like a bitch was going to give you a leg up because people never check women. They never checked their mothers. They never checked their grandmothers. They never checked anybody. And most of the men that they've been socialized around are not dudes like me. Most of the dudes that there was around in those communities and in those neighborhoods were not dudes who hold women accountable. Like people have to get into their 20s and 30s before they meet a man who would hold a woman accountable. Women made sure that those younger kids were socialized into the fact that you had to bow down to a woman no matter what, because her opinion mattered more than your success and your trajectory as a man. That's what happened here. So I understand why these dudes kowtow to and bow down towards the women that are here. It makes all the sense in the world to me. I like me, there is two levels of things that go on here. There is understanding the situation for what it is from a non-biased standpoint. And I have to be able to recreate this monster in a lab if I actually want to get past it. I need to be able to recreate it. So if I'm going to get past this, I'm like, you know what? The woman's opinion don't matter, no matter what. If you have infinite choice and your ass is still on the market, then your opinion don't matter then and it don't matter now. This is why they don't like dudes who got their stuff together, who go travel, who move anywhere. They can't stand that. Why? An increased level of exposure decrease the level of value. They know that. And this is why, after a man asserts his value, one thing that happens afterwards is a bunch of women jump on and try to take the value away that the man has asserted. And then you have a bunch of Bravo Alpha Novembers who come on and actually help them with that.
What you got on that, Alex?
Well, I mean, he's going right down the same pipe, but history is history, and I'm an advocate of learning your history because you never repeat it if you know it. You can root it off and change it. History started when it came down to social services, when they started giving out welfare. That started breaking up the American Black unit, the American Black family. It gave women the levity to want to jump out of relationships and become independent because they were living off the government's dime. Okay. So then you have children that are being brought up by just women. And that's perpetuated over three generations now. Right along with the crack epidemic and everything else that was going on, you had babies raising babies. These are the generations you're dealing with right now. The baby boomers are done and over with. Most of the world's wealth is going to be transferred past the X generation to the millennials. Grandma's giving that money to the millennial, not to their sons or daughters.
Yeah.
You know, what's going to happen? These kids don't know what they're doing. They don't know the value of the money they get. And they already have that preconceived notion that they just deserve everything without having to earn it. I remember when I was a kid, hey, I was a hustler. I would go cut grass. Those same people I cut grass for, I'd go rake leaves. Same people I rake leaves for, I'd go shovel snow. My mom had this thing where she would cut my hair, and I said, when you going to stop cutting my hair? When you can afford to get your own haircut? Bet. I went out and did it. I didn't go out and say, oh, Mom, I need $20 to go get a haircut.
Right.
You know, I grew up in a single family with just me and my brother. You know, we raised ourselves pretty much because she was RN on a night shift. She come home, go to sleep. We were on automatic. You know, kids nowadays, they don't understand the strength you get from a good work ethic. They just want to have their hands out. Here, give me. What did you do to earn it? Then if you look at the culture, MTV, you know, MTV Cribs, Sweet 16, you're looking at the upper echelon, the rappers' sons and everybody else, and looking at all these extravagant houses. Now the standard person thinks that they need an extravagant house. They need Bentleys in the driveway. You know, it just does not transfer over. You just don't magically have it. You have to either earn it or you have to own a business. And when we're not teaching our kids how to manage money, we're not teaching our kids how to establish corporations. You know, rich people used to take their kids to intern in their own businesses. How many black families are doing that? Asian families come over here and they live 12 to a house until each one of them can buy their own house.
Exactly.
That's we, for some reason, like crabs in a barrel, want to pull each other back down in the pot instead of lifting the next person up. We got to break that mentality. Even with religion, you know, you talking about religion during the slave days, you heard of the slave Bible?
Yeah.
Slave Bible is totally written in such a way that you had to obey your masters. Leave it in God's hands. And God's going to take care of your slave masters, but love your slave masters. Take care of them. That mentality is still here. We're still not broken from that. And if you can change the Bible to the slave masters' advantage, let's go back to who wrote the Bible. Let's go back to who interpreted the Bible. Let's go back to who put the chapters or the books of the Bible in it. You know, you're talking about the Catholic religion. They had kings and queens bowing to the Pope because of a book. And us coming from Africa, we had nothing to do with that book. The Crusades inflicted that book on everybody and put the Bible on everybody's table and said, this is the word that you're supposed to follow. And if you didn't follow them, they would conquer you or subdue you into submission to pay attention to that Bible. Our culture as men was never just to have one life. God put us on this earth to be fruitful and multiply. And back in those days, your kids would drop off. That's why they had big families. You don't know when a flu epidemic or something would break out and you would lose half your kids. They had bigger families.
I'm going to bring up something that happened. I'm going to bring up a couple of things real quick. So, one thing I'm gonna bring up something I seen on Facebook, but I don't know. Have you ever guys heard of the chicken drop game? It's old school. I think it's called the either called the chicken drop or the basically this was something that they used to do back in like the 60s or 50s or something like that.
Okay, so I'm interested now.
So my great grandma, which was unmarried at the time, they moved from the South to Wisconsin. a lot of people moved up north because welfare was popular up north. That was another thing that kind of destroyed the black family. Um, and so she came with all her life savings, and she had money in the bag. I guess I heard the story was she had money like in a bag. She had her money in like a trash bag or something like that. And a man approached her and said, you know, I got this money that I want you to hold for me. You know, let me get it. I can't remember verbatim, but basically he switched bags on her.
Right.
And that's probably generations of wealth probably it's gone. And I'm thinking about that because I'm like, if a man was in that situation, he wouldn't have more than likely he wouldn't have let that situation happen.
Exactly.
And so and that's still back to the day. We're losing out because men are not present to protect women.
Yeah, I mean, but this should have stopped at some point. And this is like the point that we're witnessing now should have been the conversations that happened in 1970.
Mm-hmm.
1970, like once the Bill Moyers stuff came out in the 1980s, showing what was happening with these people and these families that they were creating without men around, that should have been a point to where if you were caught bragging in any level of fashion about how you was benefiting off of this system to the detriment to your own brothers, it shouldn't even be a conversation about what should have been visited upon an individual who would even attempt to brag like they was running this actual situation, given the outcomes. Because the outcomes is everything. Like you can talk about whatever you want about the intention, but the outcomes, the actual environment, the actual everything else is very key. And what the Manosphere has done is we've made the outcomes of the broken black boys that was created by the same men here who's trying to benefit off those boys' condition. We continue to keep letting these people talk as if they have some sort of solution. They don't. They were the problem in the first place. So if you want to keep a problem going, like bad actual consulting is, if you're not part of the solution, there's plenty money to be made in prolonging the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty money to be made in prolonging a non-situation out of this. You got PhDs here with PhDs in liberal bitch science who come here to speak on the behalf of so-called black people. But when it comes to the productivity front, they ain't got shit to do with it. Why? They're not trying to challenge real power.
Mm-mm.
Let me ask you this though, because not to cut you off, but so in one hand, all right. So in one hand, if black men supporting, let's say, red pill manosphere movement, if it's not, if you're saying that it's not benefit to black men because we are perpetuating, or the white counterparts aren't solving root issues, but we all have a common goal as men. How is that any different from the Civil War? Because people supported the Civil War for two different reasons. There was people supported the Civil War because they wanted to end slavery, and blacks wanted freedom, and some people wanted freedom for blacks. But the other part of the Civil War, reason for the Civil War, was that the South was winning economically.
Correct.
Versus the North.
And that's a great thing to introduce into the manosphere type conversation. The dudes who are winning within the manosphere are the people who's trying to introduce men into bad solutions by dealing with the same group of women. Like if the manosphere actually worked, we would turn men onto different groups of cultured women who've been raised with the actual end goal of where we're trying to end up at, and just deal with those people. Like My grandfather taught Manosphere so-called shit to me. He told like, you can't bring these people here. My father was treated like a brother, not father. No, grandfather's still alive. So it's like you have to understand that with so many things missing here, what was not introduced was a way out of this. They was trying to get you introduced into something. So there is no red pill community. There is nobody here who is red pill who's trying to make deals with people. There, like there is no red pill people here. Most of the red pill people are purple pill. They're trying to introduce you back into the same women with a different level of coping mechanism. They didn't get introduce you into better women. They didn't get married to better women. They didn't date better women. They claim to have more access than the next guy to better women. And those dudes don't have a level of things that they can demonstrate to even say that they have better access. So what they were doing is they was doing a play action pass. You know how that works. They fake the ball to the halfback or running back. They get stole on by the whole line, and the ball's going downfield. That's how that was with people in the manosphere. They actually used the people who didn't have any experience was the guy who was taking a hit off the line. And they was lobbing the ball down the field to the actual women, to the actual men who thought that they was getting the upper hand on women, when the women were getting the upper hand in the advanced settings on men. That's what it was. That's what the red pill was about. That's what the red pill community is about. Escorting men back into that blast furnace. It wasn't about giving men access to better women, better options. It was about making sure that they know damn well it was to make sure that they surrendered to the actual circumstances. It was sad, but that's what happened. I'm sorry. That's what happened.
What about you, Alex? You got anything that you want to add?
Well, he got me on that red pill thing because I didn't know it went that way back then, but I know what the red pill is about right now. And I used to use it even in my sales pitches because I do insurance, financial planning, retirement planning, things like that. So one of the things I used to tell my clients is, look, the matrix is a big thing for me. You want to stay in that blue pill where I can just give you rainbows and candy canes and tell you how great the world is, or do you want the reality of what life brings you? We're talking about leaving legacies. Everybody should have a life insurance policy. Everybody should. And one of my mentors even told me this a long time ago. He goes, Alex, tell all your agents as you're training them, you can change a whole family's life and destiny with a stroke of a pen. $3 million life insurance policy. You can't walk in a bank without a whole bunch of paperwork to try to get a $3 million loan. But you can sign a contract for your life insurance policy for very little money. As long as you're paying your premiums and leave $3 million as the beginning of a legacy. Things like that, little things like that we have forgotten as a people to leave something behind. I'm so tired of seeing GoFundMe pages. I'm so tired of seeing car washes and cookouts to help pay for somebody's death because we procrastinate about those things. We'll get to it later. Tomorrow's not promised. You don't know what's going to happen. Like, you could step out and get run over by a car. You could have a heart attack in your sleep. I had a buddy the other day say his nephew fell asleep, didn't wake up. He died in his sleep. He was in his early 30s. You just don't know when your time is. And for us to get up from where we are now, we have to be a lot more conscious about what we're leaving behind. Building legacies for our children, for, our grandchildren, leaving things behind that are going to give them another jump ahead. And then know that you educated your kids to do the right thing with the money. Teach them the value of money. Teach them what credit is.
Right.
Teach them how to invest in themselves.
And you could go to, and people go to the extent of putting it in trust funds just because they don't trust what these.
That's exactly right. So the other thing is I usually try to get them to roll it into a trust fund later. First things first, let's get you a life insurance policy. Then let's sit down and talk about putting it into a trust so that you can issue out that money at a period of time to each family member that you have on that policy. Put your house on a trust as well. You don't have to go through probate court if you have your house in a trust.
Correct.
It automatically gets dictated on where it goes next or who owns it. Or even your life insurance can pay the taxes on the house.
Correct.
So that your family can keep it in the family. You can trust the house to where nobody outside of your family can live in it or sell it ever.
Mm-hmm.
So now you leave something behind that's stable and is not going anywhere by doing those things. It's for us to learn and take lessons from, yes, the white people, the Asian people, and everybody else, but we need to learn. And then we need to regurgitate what we're learning to everybody else. That's why I like the Facebook groups, Passport Bros, Black Men Travel, getting in there and teaching them about traveling, getting secure enough to want to travel and see the world, because all the stories they heard from everybody else, they need to experience for themselves. They're going to realize, oh my God, the world's a huge place. And a lot of the people have a lot of similarities. Some of the countries you go to, if you talk about ancestry, they swear to God they wish they had some African American or African in them. They want to see that Afro lineage because it's a proud lineage. But some of us are denying who we are, so that we can be included in another group. Our group is strong, and getting with some of these celebrities that we're talking about a different Democratic Party. Where are they at? Where are they at right now? You had Ice-T or Ice Cube and somebody else get on TV and talk about don't vote for Biden, because of this, that, and the other thing. We're going to start our own party. Hey, bro, second term's coming up. Presidential elections about 3 years away. Where's this party at? There's a lot of this going on, but we're not putting any action behind it.
Right.
And somebody's got to get up and start putting some action to those ideas, because they're sound ideas. Whether we take over the independent party and make sure all the Black people join an independent party, so then if that political leader isn't working well with us, we just don't vote their way. Put people that are in our party in office, starting with the local, governor, city mayors, state legislature. Work your way up to the Senate. It might take us a couple years to get up to the Senate where we have some seats up there, but there's a process and everything. You can lay it all out, but somebody's got to execute it.
Correct. And what people don't understand is the people who want to sit out of the system of participation are people who wasn't participating in the first place.
Correct.
That's the problem that we have now. Like, there is no way you can just say, oh, we've been doing X, Y. No. What's your personal track record? Not cultural. Because when I joined the military, I didn't do it for a cultural good. I did it for a personal good for myself. Like, I knew what the Mississippi had to offer. I knew that there was nothing good for anybody who came up out of there. And when I went to better places, I was around better people, and I got better things out of it because I was around better circumstances. And people were like, what was the actual motivation not to come back? Dude, I'm in the 50th state in the union when it comes to things that are good. I am number one in the things that are bad. Why on earth would I leave this great situation to go somewhere else when I've witnessed the bottom and the top of things that I don't want anybody to be a part of?
Right. And the biggest thing is, tell them, every time you came home, what were the people on your block still doing? The same old thing.
I never went back for 20 years, and I still came back after 20 years, and I was still doing the same thing.
Exactly. So it seems like the world's going so much faster when you travel, and then when you come back, it's like you slow back down again, like,
correct.
Then you start looking around your environment, you're like, this guy's doing the same stuff. Why do I need to be here?
Yeah, but let's look at it this way. Time slows down when you focus on you. It speeds up for everybody else who is stagnant. And that's what people don't understand. Like, I have people right now who I just left my 25th class reunion last year. And people are now getting the opportunity to venture out and do things that I've done 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But they had a kid at 16, 17 years old. They was locked into the city. They couldn't go to school. They couldn't do anything. So it's like you have to understand that we're now. It doesn't matter when you get started. Like right now, I meet dudes other places. They're 60, 70 years old. They look young as me or you or him. But those dudes got the lesson. Why? They stopped having kids. They were able to grow. They was able to invest in themselves. They was able
Correct.
to move to better circumstances where they can better produce for themselves and their
Right.
actual outcome and future. And they love the fact of being on the ground floor with everybody else. There was a level of appreciation when it came for two older individuals. You don't see that now with like most people are trying to lock people in. Most of those older dudes I met, they was trying to spread the message, but they were working so hard to where they couldn't spread the message to other people. And then you have people who come in with this nonsense of trying to provide comfort to people who don't need to be comforted. They don't need to be comforted. They need to be told the truth. Dude, the truth is we can't compete like this. We can't go on like this forever. We're not going to win like this.
Mm-mm.
And what they want to do is they want to hold on to this skin color bullshit and think that by having the blackest family possible is an easier win than actually having a more functional society with black people in it. And it's like, bro, nobody cares about what you look like if you winning.
Correct.
Nobody cares about that.
Facts. So before I bring up, I want to show this video of something from '86 that I found interesting. But just to ask one more time. So when it comes to the red pill space, some guy I've heard Dennis Sperling. He had interviewed this guy named the Sandman, and Dennis Sperling made a comment about the Black Manosphere, and the Sandman was kind of it kind of made him cringe because he's like, why do we have a Black Manosphere? You know what I mean?
He knows why we have a black Manosphere. Come on, dude.
And but we don't have a black. You never seen a black feminist group, a black female feminist group. You never seen black women say we're the black feminism.
It's called Lipstick Alley. They have one
during the initial movement.
Not during the initial movement, but right now, it's called Lipstick Alley. You go over there talking that anti-black woman shit, you gone. You're not even gonna get that shit off. You block from everything.
Black women didn't fight feminism or try to fight feminism as a group.
No, they followed along with the white women in the 60s. Black women, LGBTP, whatever, they all were in the same group together. The organizers were black, even though it was for overall women's rights and freedoms. If you look at the original co-founders and founders of that movement, they were African Americans.
I mean, like Dennis Sperling can't speak for our group. He can't speak for our group. He cannot speak for our group. This is a dude who turned around and said that he wanted to save the actual women from the actual dudes that they were dating. And this is why it's a problem having these people actually speak for us. Like, you've never seen Dennis Sperling around any black people outside of YouTube. I know people who's around this dude in Houston. He's only around black YouTube and pandering to black men online. You don't see anybody around Dennis Sperling offline, where he was the rapping attorney doing all these 3 and 5 minute videos. You didn't see anybody black in those fucking videos. Why? The dude is Latino. It's fine that you're Latino, but you can't come out here and speak for black issues and pander down to us. Like, people want to be felt and they want to be heard, but they don't want to be respected. This dude does not speak for anybody. Dude, I can get Sandman on my show. But I know bringing him on my show ain't gonna bring no value because I know his content over the years. When directly addressed, he said good things. Outside of being directly addressed, he don't care. And that's how it is. What people have to understand is that if you want these things to change around child support, you know how you get rid of child support? Increase male interaction with their own kids. There is no way a person can say, I want my baby daddy to have less interaction with his kids. You already have a winning issue that everybody is going through in the South, in the North, no matter where it is. Because if you think black men are getting ape raped by child support, you ain't heard shit till it came to the white dudes when it comes to getting the same treatment. So the problem is that people don't understand how to work with one another because people are trying to maintain the level of racial supremacy within the group that they actually are a part of, black people included. This is why you got so many clowns speaking for black male issues, but when it comes to actually leading people to the actual productivity piece, ain't nobody there. They're talking about this emotional shit. Nobody's there trying to lead people to the money. Because when you get to the money, you know what you're not trying to do? Make bad decisions and give it away to people who don't care about it. But guess what person who don't care about it overall? A person who don't give a damn about what their future is. That's the person who want to give it away for free. So it's like, listen, there are things here that could and should be done, but those are things that are outside the actual influence of people who want to get things done. I really want things to work. Everybody does.
Right.
But if we keep taking the wrong route, keep taking the wrong information, we keep listening to the nasheeds and all this kind of other stuff, we don't have any.
I do like Tariq Nasheed though.
No, no,
So
no. I like Tariq Nasheed, but when it comes to progress for actual people, he
mhm,
leads them into a loop to where they don't participate in the process.
mhm,
You got to participate in the process. If you don't show up in a democracy, your voice don't get heard. Now, if you don't show up in a parliamentary system, they force you to participate. We
mhm,
don't live in a parliamentary system.
mhm.
So that's the
Mhm.
problem. It's like you have to bring people into participating. There's nothing wrong with being a one issue voter. Hell, the evangelicals do it all the time. Abortion. They use abortion as the fact to vote for rich people's tax cuts and all type of other shit. Abortion alone. One issue
Mhm.
that most of these people can't even have kids and they care about abortion. That's how strong that issue is. And once they get that issue resolved on the Supreme Court, they're coming right back to the Democratic Party. Like that's what people don't understand about the long-term history about these issues and how people get actually sucked into things that they don't understand long term because they don't know the history.
Hmm. No, that's some good points. Now that I think about it now, is that obviously in hindsight we see feminism isn't really helping black women because it's not helping a black family.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm saying.
you know, it's just surface things, and it was the it was the white woman's fight. The white women were
That was their
Mhm.
fight,
they were oppressed by their men.
and
Correct.
they were
Black women wasn't oppressed by black men.
not at
No,
all. We love the fuck out of the women, no matter what the
right.
fuck they did.
But then here's the ticket. They helped the white women get their rights, and then we were still fighting for voting rights to even go to a white school.
Right,
All at the same time, all this was going down. We're still helping white people get their just due, and we're still suffering in the background.
right.
I mean, but they enjoyed their position that they didn't have to work too hard for. You have to understand how power works, though. But see, if you have men who are never going to work for their own power, which is what the Manosphere is, it is an anti-male platform that is meant to care about women's issues more than men. And I would challenge anybody to tell me otherwise.
So so
That's
let's
where we're, that's where we're at. So
so so I'm gonna use the dynamic: white men oppressed white women. because they were in those positions of power to do that. And then you seen white women fight to be able to be in those power positions, so the dynamic can change. Now, the black man fight with feminism really is the family court system. That's the core. That's the core of everything. That's the core. That's the power. That's from Me Too comes from that. Everything comes from the family. Everything comes from having power in a family court system. So, do black men lack fairness in the family court system because of the people, basically the judges? If the judges were as black women, for example, would the outcomes of family court be different or the same?
Well,
if they were women, they would be the same. You need black men that understand there are men out there that are capable of taking care of their kids, because it's a known fact that when you go to, court, the woman's automatically going to get the child, whether she can afford to pay for him or not. There go, the man starts having to pay alimony and child support. This is a business too.
Right.
Family court is a business. The logical step would be the man holds on to the children, especially if he was the moneymaker in the family. No, we're going to give him to the woman, and we're going to have to take something out of your house and give it to the woman. And then, by the way, she's also going to get welfare and everything else to support her.
But if most men understood that family court is a court martial, doesn't matter what the charges are.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they took it at the point that your ass is getting court martial means that your ass is guilty.
Yep.
That federal actual conviction rate is very high for a reason. Because if they're going to spend the money, if they know the demographics of the group that they get to pick the jury, your ass is not walking out of there without any type of guaranteed consequence. But when you have people who are so stuck on willing to take the court martial rather than having the benefits of discipline and leaving these people alone, they know what the history and the track record is. I got to kick back and I have to punish everybody because of these outcomes. Because, see, men have the ability to punish with discipline. Women don't have the ability to punish with discipline. They don't have that ability to do that. They have the ability to punish with consequences, guaranteed consequences. Only a man can punish people with abject discipline. A woman can't do that. Because if a conservative woman did what she was supposed to do, you would never hear from her. But if a man were to do everything he was supposed to do as a man and abstain from certain type of situations, there's something wrong with the man. And you have the Bravo Alpha Novembers who try to make it look like it's so easy for you to wave in and out of these circumstances with no consequences. This is why the most men who are suffering the most consequences are the same dudes who's trying to tell you that to get in the pool, the water's fine. This never would happen in a organized society. It would never happen.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm gonna play this clip. I don't know if y'all seen it before or not, but it was interesting because.
Oh my God! Oh yes, this right here. Oh yeah.
All right, let me pause my.
Raise your hand if you're married. None of you are married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father. Wow. One. The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. It's a lot of responsibility, and then you don't want the commitments.
I wouldn't want no man holding me down because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't in the home, so it really male figures are not substantially important in the family.
That's a shame.
That was in 1986. These were the people who, right now, like 1986 is 25, 30 years ago at this point.
Yep.
And these were the people who were creating those families, knowing what they were getting into. So if it's 1986 and they're 15, 16 years old, what did they witness in the early 70s when they got born? Right? Like these things come from something. And because you have a plethora and an epidemic of women acting like they care about men's opinions and issues, I want to get one of these women on to have them watch this actual documentary with us and actually tell us why you talking to us about relationships when you should be talking about your own brethren about these relationships that they form. Like, that's the problem. Like, we can't really have a decent conversation because the moment you try to bring accountability to the table, the Bravo Alpha Novembers are going to walk right in and disarm the conversation, period, in essence of helping the women out. And that's what it is. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. When I saw this, it made me think about my mom because I was born I was born in '81. So I'm just like, wow, what I mean? I'm like, that could be my mom up there talking. She had me when she was 16, going on 17.
I graduated in '85, so I was well aware of those young girls that were having kids.
Wow. And it's just
They
like
were awful regular, man. Like, bro, they were awful regular. Like, dude, listen. Most of the younger women were stepping out of the cars of 40 and 50-year-old dudes. We're talking about 13 and 14-year-old women in the South.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and these Bravo Alpha Novembers come out and actually tell you to not complain about this system because that's what they're trying to run right now. It's like, bro, this stuff was wrong then. It's wrong now. If you had a daughter, there ain't no way you would endorse some 40, 50 something year old dude getting up on some 16-year-old woman because her circumstances are bad. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, at some point, it is the men because men lay down the culture for the next people to follow. That's what people don't get. My grandfather laid down the law for the women to follow, and they didn't. They had to change their name and they had to get the hell out the city. We only met these people after everybody died. Like, like you never met these people before because if you wasn't on your stuff, you had to roll out. There was no social consequences for things. And when we lost our standard of living, thanks to not having a life insurance policy for my father, we ended back up in the hood. And that's when we really seen all the stuff that they tried to keep us away from.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened. And I can admit that as a dude. That's where my father failed. Grandfather failed and not because my grandfather lived longer than he did. But he assumed that he was going to be around forever like he assumed he was going to be around forever.
Right.
And that's how those people paid off their houses. They paid off their houses with insurance.
Correct.
That's how they paid off their houses. It wasn't labor and hard work. It was about insurance, $15, $16 a month. You skipping out on a weekend at the club was paying for those people that have a $1 million payout. That's what it was.
Right.
Wow. Let me read this.
Financial literacy is a huge thing in our community that we need to really wrap our arms around and get comfortable with before ever going to get in a comfortable place with the legacy that we leave for our children. Financial literacy is the number one thing that needs to be looked at.
True. Real quick, Mr. Doctor said, I saw the whole documentary. One of the mothers was cussing her child father out in front of the camera crew. I'm going to have to watch that documentary.
Dude, Dude, I'm telling you, prepare to be upset about what you see because that
Mhm.
is a depressing documentary. And you need to watch another one after that called Welfare Checks. That is the sequel to what you just saw, and it is not any better, but it is a painful experience that you need to see. Everybody needs to see. Like when you have these 40, 30 something year old women online trying to talk about relationships, they've been on the market thanks to the actual setup that their mothers provided for them in the
Mhm.
early 1970s. And it's like they have created a whole culture around not being able to complain or hold them responsible for that actual activity because of the older men that they fed during those circumstances. Like that's what happened. And we gotta
Wow.
be honest with ourselves about that.
Right.
If anybody could post the links in the chat, you know what I mean, I definitely want to check those out, later.
I'll send them
Um,
to you after the live stream's over.
And that's what I was talking about earlier with the generational thing with babies raising babies. Started back in the 80s, right around when the crack epidemic went on, because a lot of these young girls, their mothers were on drugs. So then they go out and get pregnant. These little girls are raising babies while their moms are high on drugs. I mean, even if you look at Jada Pinkett's situation, her mom was an addict,
Sure
heroin
was.
addict,
Sure
hmm.
was.
But
while
what
she was growing up.
did that start in the 70s after Vietnam? Because I'm thinking about this movie, Their President.
60s, 70s is when it really started, and it blew
Yes,
up once cocaine and heroin went to crack in the 80s. That's
Mhm.
when it really blew up.
Okay. Did Vietnam affect? I'm pretty
Oh
sure
yeah.
when black men went to Vietnam, they had women pregnant. They come back.
yeah, but they was giving those people significant amounts of drugs when they was over there to be in
Right.
those
Hashish was
circumstances.
a big thing down back then, and what was the other drug that a lot of veterans were smoking? I think they even got a hold of cocaine. I mean, that's where
Heroin. No, it
heroin.
was heroin.
Yeah.
No, it was heroin.
Hmm. That's that's another topic. I'm gonna play this one more time just for people that didn't get to see it, and then
Raise your hand if you're married. None of you are married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father. One. The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family
I'll pause the
to
video.
care for. It's a lot of responsibility, and then you don't want the commitments.
I wouldn't want no man holding me down because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need
You
help
got
in
a job
raising
for
that
10
baby
months.
from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't in the home, so it really male figures are not substantially important in the family.
Okay, so that woman there was 16 years old. So if she
Mhm.
didn't see her father in the household, we're talking about 1972, 73. Father wasn't in the household. So that environment that she was raised in was created in the 60s by
Mhm.
somebody. So it's like there's a lot going on here. And look at the size of the women. People would kill for that body type today in that pool of women today. They don't look like that,
right.
right?
That's a
They
good
don't.
point.
They definitely sell for the big leagues now. But if you look at it, those women had definite control over their future. Like it wasn't the men. They chose the men that was going to have them benefit the circumstance that they wanted to be in at the end of the day. This is why I don't even go after that. I'm like, look, They were socialized into a situation to where they wanted total control. And that's what they went after. You have to be honest with that. If you were in a situation like I witnessed the opposite of this situation when I was in Germany. Men didn't want to commit because they had access to legalized prostitution. Why on earth would they want to be in a relationship when they could just go get their needs met for 40 marks? And they back to doing whatever they want to do productivity wise. It's the actual opposite, polar opposite of what's going on here. So once I realized that and I went to other countries and I went to other places, that's when you have to realize culture matters more than the intent of racial hue. The culture matters more. What is the actual intent and the actual end goal of this culture? If they were cultured to being on the market and have an excuse being made to them by random men who just wanted to have sex with them, and they didn't was never held to any type of responsibility, that's what you was going to get in major numbers. It's not hard to get. But I'm not saying that you need to internalize it, but you need to understand the actual circumstance of what's happening. So that way you don't repeat it within your own life, expecting the wrong thing by heading into something that you can't control and they don't want to control.
Facts. Yeah, one thing that I was thinking about watching that is that I was thinking like what would make a woman feel like she doesn't need a man involved in raising a child, and the only thing I could think of was that a lot of girls, they play with these dolls growing up, and all they think they need to do is feed and clothe the baby and change Pampers. Yeah, of course that concept seems you don't need no help, but it's more to just feeding, clothing, and changing diapers, and basic stuff like that. So that's something that I can't understand.
Think about how these girls answer the question at 15 and 16. Responsibility. That's too much pressure. Commitment. Where do you think they learned those words from? Their moms. Their moms was already on welfare. There was a clear path for young girls to have children and make $200 to $300 a kid. Besides, forget they rent paid and everything else, and then have the court system go after their baby daddy so they can get more money. So the game was taught to them by their mothers.
Correct.
And it's been perpetuated through the generations. You don't need no man. Go out and have a couple kids, bank that money, and go out and deal with yourself. Why have a headache of having that man in the house or having to commit to somebody? Go get a couple dollar bills attached to you, which is no kids, and live off the system.
I mean, but those kids were investment properties. I mean, let's keep it real. Like, if we're going to look at it, I mean, the kids were investment properties.
Exactly.
They invested in the wrong type of men to produce the type of result that they have full control over.
Exactly.
And because they were in those circumstances, they had another level of neglected men that they can lean on to actually solve their actual problems. Like, this isn't hard to get, but if you look at it like a pathological problem,
right,
you have a solution that is eventually leaving these personnel alone and finding other people that have been cultured differently, because you're not going to be cultured to a greater result than what you experience. You're not going to do that. You're going to pass down the same culture, better or slightly worse than what you was raised by.
Exactly. And that's where these girls learned it. They learned it from their mothers. Wow. Their mothers didn't have their husbands in the home, or if they were even married in the first place.
And here's the other thing. Those dads wasn't in the home because they knew when to get out of Dodge. Like, those people didn't run across the country or anything else. Those dudes were around the corner. They knew when the people were going to be there. They gave them heads up when they was going to be there. There was not any SWAT team that was just swooping through and taking people's welfare benefits away. No, they knew when they was going to show up. They knew that. They knew when they was going to be there. Those people would be standing outside corner stores or whatever they did, That's what it was. It was a deliberate action to make things far worse.
I remember that. I remember they would announce visits, and dudes were talking about I can't.
Yes, correct.
Because they can't be found in a home. Their clothes had to be moved and unpacked up and moved out because there can't be no showing of any other male living in
Correct.
that.
Correct.
I remember.
And here's the thing: those people would wear different clothes. They would call themselves different names while those people were walking around their place looking for the man. So you have to understand that the men were in on it too. They didn't go across the country to do that. There was far less of an actual percentage of people who actually wasn't there than people who was. Those
Right.
people were there. They were there all day.
Wow. So maybe y'all could enlighten me. So I kind of understand why welfare was created, but I don't understand why the child tax credit was created.
No, it was to incentivize them to stay within the same circumstance. Because okay, if you look at it like an actual a pot. Think of it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you're pouring the water at the top and you're trying to recreate the same circumstances all the way at the bottom where there's 6 cups at the bottom, you pour into the top, which is an irresponsible person. The irresponsible person create irresponsible kids that are never going to live up to the responsibility of most men in society. Those kids are going to create the entire environment below them that's going to create more people, the prison, the actual the school to prison pipeline, and XYZ. And when you add it into bad government policy on top of a specific situation that you incentivize, because government incentivizes behavior that they want to see, they disincentivize behavior that they don't want to see. So if you know that you can make for other people, not people within an environment, small town America that could not succeed without having prisons within their communities.
Right.
Unless they had people coming to those communities that were teaching school in those actual black communities, that were actually sending people up and doing all these other things. Like there's an actual tree of things that happens when you have the wrong type of leadership mixed with the same type of government policies that are bad. And stagnant people who don't want to change. If they already know predictably how you're going to act at the end of the day, they don't need to change anything. They can just legalize or disincentivize whatever behavior that they want to see. Because these people didn't want to be better. They wanted the excuse of walking into a pre-made excuse that the other generation walked into.
Right.
That's what they did. Like, so when people try to blame this, like the point was to create a productive culture around things that people needed. We needed to create a different class of people rather than a race of people that we was assigned to. The only thing you had to do to actually do this was team up with the AFL-CIO and create your kids to actually be in actual communities that was actually going to have an actual end of the day focus that was going to be on productivity. But when you have people who create kids for no reason at all, everybody is focused on entertainment, bullshit, and sports, not productivity, not hard science-based things that actually take work. You create this system that loops itself within itself and that creates all these other problems. It's mathematically based. It doesn't look like it's mathematically based, but if you look at it from a 20 and 30-year actual standpoint, depending on the actual irresponsibility of people, leveraging their irresponsibility purposefully to create the results that you want, you can easily see this thing on an actual bar graph or a line graph.
Wow. So why do you think, or maybe it hasn't happened yet, why do you don't think that the actions of black women have influenced other groups of women and they say, you know what, we don't need men either. We can raise children on our own. Let's all promote this single motherhood because, we don't need men to raise children. we have this model that shows we don't. Do you think that it's going to spread to other groups, or do you think it's just
It's
going to?
already spread to other groups. Every group of women want the same benefits and rights to destroy their family and not be held responsible as BWs do. Every group of women want more power. And they look at the people who have more power than other people within their actual groups. It's really it's as hard and as difficult as it sounds. It's incredibly simple once you understand the process from beginning to end. But since most people don't want to understand the process from beginning to end, they're trying to be a sexual parasite. They're trying to attach themselves to a person who's way ahead of them in their actual thought process. Like a lot of these people don't realize that you are outnumbered and outgunned. They make a complaint, they get an automatic attorney, and if they don't get an automatic attorney, they're gonna get a high price attorney that's gonna be government subsidized. You don't get that as a dude in no other way from form of fashion in society. You don't get it.
I mean, there's a saying that they had going around for a while is the educational system was built around putting factory workers in the factory. You were being educated just enough to go to work for somebody else, go work for a Fortune 100 or 500 company. You know, that's as much education as you were getting in high school. A lot of high schools used to just do vocational. I remember back in the day when I was taking a aptitude test, they used to tell you what your jobs could be possibly based on your intellect. So they would push you in that direction as well to try to get you to just go out in the workforce. Don't worry about college. This is where you need to go, unless you had a college level type of aptitude. You know, they would generally tell you what you would be good for by taking this test.
And this is why I say, and I'm an atheist, the black church has to be rebuilt. It has to be rebuilt. It has to be refocused on pretty much making sure that these young ass men don't turn out like these older ass dudes in society by directing their actual level away from sports and towards productivity and hard sciences. We need to take a 50-year break from sports as a culture. Let that stuff be taken upon by other people in society who don't give a damn about their people's future. That's the only way it can be able to work.
Right.
The only way.
Wow. I'm thinking about my great uncle. You know, he from the old school, and you know he played ball with the young guys. He in his 60s now, but so he's really straightforward. He one of them guys that get put in Facebook jail every other week.
Oh yeah.
So
what did I say this time? Right.
So he always say this. He tell these young guys. He say, if y'all don't do this or do that, y'all gonna be sucking D. And I was like, why you telling they're gonna be sucking D? Because because y'all gonna either be in jail. Basically, y'all gonna be in jail. So he was like, you got two options. You know what I mean? Be productive. You know what I mean? Do this, do that, or you're gonna be sucking D. But him saying that is so funny because it's actually true.
Yeah. In its most simplistic term, yeah. You're either going to be a productive citizen or you're going to get into the criminal life, start slinging drugs, and you're going to wind up in jail.
Yeah, man. So
they ain't no drug dealers that get to retire. Most of them die.
And
now you can almost say that about rappers. The minute the rappers start opening their mouth talking about what they did, somebody coming back to get them. They getting laid down.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't understand, because I have a law enforcement background, is that most of these people get snitched on by their own girl, dude. Like, you piss her off and she turns in the whole clique and crew. There is no well-rounded investigation that takes everybody down. They just wait till you piss her the hell off and she snitches on everybody for a better Section 8 house.
Mm-hmm.
The whole crew went down over a better Section 8 house for her over in a rich neighborhood. So all the stuff that you think that you're doing it for, you actually going to pay for at the end of the day. And most of the dudes who's in the game the longest, those dudes be snitching on everybody. That's how you get to stay in the game that long. is giving people up. I keep telling people that, and they don't understand. Like, okay, how did that dude get a deal? He got a deal because he made a deal. If you don't have people around you to corroborate your story, you get the most amount of time. That's why they don't want you snitching. Because if you snitch, you tell the truth up front and can't nobody collaborate and actually organize against you. Like people don't understand how simple this is until you actually lay it out to people. And what they don't understand is being on a productive path is way easier. You have to watch your back less around less people by just being on the things you need to be on in the first place. And no matter where you at in society, or no matter what you leave behind in society, your ass was going to need to be there in the first place because it was your masculine responsibility for the first place.
Wow. It's crazy you brought up about snitching because I have watched something with the Fresh and Fit guy. I guess he used to be an ex FBI agent or something like that. But he said that the people that snitched the most was the women.
I know that he knows that. I know that.
Because they start talking about, hey, we'll take your kids away from you, put them in the system, and you going to jail with them. Oh no, a woman ain't gonna do that. She's gonna give you up, and all your friends too.
Wow, I never knew that, man. Because them the women be talking about
it's
they be
common
down.
knowledge for people who is in law enforcement or federal law enforcement, or it's common knowledge, except for people who call themselves in rap music. Like you're not gonna be there very long doing this stuff. You could be there forever if you give up people. You'll be there forever.
Most of these dudes leave the money with the chicks or tell them where their money is. So you basically starting up a savings account for her, and when she gets caught, she's gonna flip on you because she has access to everything you had up to that point. You don't put the car in her name. You don't put the house in her name. You don't gave her so much advantage. Why would she give all that up just to be a square chick and not snitch on you? Especially when they're threatening to take the kids away.
Dude,
she ain't gonna do that. She's gonna give you up.
The back catcher's mitt. That's what it is. Like they don't understand that they're funding the back catcher's mitt. Like you don't get that. It's too easy for them to do. It's too easy to offer them a Section 8 house, not really care about where the funds go. They know how much money is in their bank account. They know what the withdrawal rate is. They know the person who goes in there. They know all of this. But if they could take down a whole organization by just going after one human being, and you know what they're going to do? They're going to sit there, they're going to rub your shoulders, they're going to kiss you on the cheek, and they're going to watch you walk into that bus off for 35 years. Walk their ass right out their courtroom and jump on the next newest, hottest guy.
Boo-hooing all the way while you going to the prison bus. They crying like they really hurt. But yet and still, they're the ones that told on you.
And as soon as that car door slammed, and as soon as that gate closed, and she's home, it's no loyalty. A lot of people don't understand this stuff has been going on for so long that they do. It is so obvious that this is what has always been happening. But there were two sexually compromised. But the whole reason why they did it was access to women in the first place. It wasn't to do any type of noble cause. They wanted access to women to start all dudes with. They didn't do it for any other noble cause, man. And that's why I don't feel sorry for them, man. I don't care. I don't.
Wow. Interesting. So my last question for the night, fellas. So what do y'all think about the passport bro space? Brothers that want to not date, have sex, marriage, or kids. They don't want to do that in the United States. They want to do it somewhere, not as westernized as the United States. What do you guys think about this movement?
Jamal, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll go first. I know you're gonna go in way harder after me, but I think that manga talk needs to stop. You need to leave that to over there in the Asia and the Thailand and stuff. I think you need to come in with cultural input so that we can get a cultural output because Mississippi, like Texas and Kansas, to Oregon and Germany, I actually met the grand group of people who I actually wanted to be around. I could have easily got caught up in the legalized prostitution aspect of people over there who's working there like UPS, like $17 an hour, who's still over there 20, 25 years later, just so they can have access. Like, dude, I want a different outcome. I wanted to get around better people. I didn't know how bad the group of people that I was around until I got around better people, better outcomes and better results. And that's what I wanted. Like, you have to have a written down how you want to get out of this. And like, I think a lot of people are using the passport bro space is to continue to monetize with newer type women who are not quite gained up on dudes like that going over there. Like, they leverage the actual history of black men being elected and they turn it into something crazy once they get over there. But it's just that I'm just gonna have a definite way of getting out of there. I'm not trying to go over there and do all this crazy stuff that I can clearly do here. I want a different outcome. So I'm off the market. And I'm not trying to control what people do, but these people who messed up their lives before are going to flood this market like it's flooded into the Manosphere and they're gonna ruin it. So
Okay. You, Alex?
All right, man. It does stem to how the modern woman acts towards the modern black man. The monarchy has been full reign, like I said, for like 4 generations. It's been mom, mom, mom. You know, you even see sports celebrities. I want to thank my mother, not dad, my mother, because that's what they grew up with. And everybody's like, oh, you shouldn't talk bad down to your mom, or you need to respect your mom. I do respect my mom, but my mom raised me to be a man. And ultimately, what she believes in is a man should be the head of the household. So I could take advice from you as a woman, but at the end of the day, I'm the man. I make the decisions. We're going to turn right, we're going to turn right. We're going to turn left, we're going to turn left. I might consult you, but at the end of the day, it's our responsibility. A lot of the modern women want to lead, but then when they make a mistake, why did you let me do it? Every excuse in the world why it's still your fault that their decision failed. But they'll beat you pillar to post to make that decision. Oh, I want a partner, but it's not going to be equal partnership. You get what I'm saying? So looking at other cultures, you're looking at women that are a little more submissive, understand the role as a man. Even if you don't even have to go to Thailand, you can go to Mexico. Why is it that Mexican men can come over here, work in construction, and still have a loyal woman to go home to, who's cooking and cleaning and making them feel at peace when they go into their home? But we can't get that as black men. The women have been brainwashed for years. We don't need no man. Well, then if you don't need no man, I'm going to go find a woman that needs a man and knows how to respect me as a man and knows what I bring to the table and honors me behind me holding up my obligations as a traditional man, taking care of the household, you know, and them, or as far as bringing the money home, and then she takes the money and makes it a home. That's the whole thing behind a woman. But the woman wants to go out there and try to outcompete you like there's a competition. The competition is the family unit. But they don't forgot that. It's you're manned up. Like if a successful man went out right now and wanted to look for a woman, he's going to look for a younger woman that might not even be at his level, but he'll bring that woman up to his level. He'll refine her. He'll educate her to a level where even if he's around his business partner, she knows how to handle a conversation with the other ladies, or even with the men. Occasionally, she ain't gonna look like no dummy. But get a higher paid woman. She wants a man at her level or higher. She's not willing to go down below. That's a problem. How come we can look down and pick up a woman and help her get to where she needs to be as successful as we are, but a woman can't do the same thing? The priorities are mixed, But in these other cultures, they understand what it means to have a husband that's faithful to them, and all they have to do is cater towards that. Particularly, let's say Thailand. There's no like Social Security in Thailand. Okay. That's why you'll see old ladies at 70 or 80 years old that didn't get married still working out on the streets because they still need to make money.
Right.
The most money they can possibly make is maybe $200 to $300 a month, American. You go over there, bills are paid like a mother. All they have to do is keep you happy. And even if you had to kick out a couple $100 to their family every month, what's the big deal? Because those families and the way their kids are their retirement. You are taught to take care of the senior people in your family until they pass. So even if you got with a Thailand lady and you got married, you're going to help out your family just like you would help out your own family. You're going to help her family out. A couple $100 a month to support the family, that's like big money to them. It's not taking care of and a lot of women will phrase it as, oh, these guys over there taking advantage of these economically disabled women. That's not it. You are only smart when you take your American dollars and get the best value out of that money. Those countries are giving you a higher rate on your money than America is. Why not exploit that to your advantage? You can put that money up, save, buy a couple Airbnb condos, rent those out. Now you have a legacy that you're building for your family. Doesn't have to be where, we're leaving just to take advantage of some underdeveloped nation and their people. That's the biggest excuse I hear now. There's you guys couldn't hack it here. Y'all going to go overseas and get these poor, economically disadvantaged women to take advantage of them and get sex out of them, and that's all you want.
I mean, to be honest, we poorly disadvantaged here. They just have daddy government. That's the only difference. Take away daddy government, and women will be selling their bodies indirectly, directly, just as much.
Oldest profession in the world, and it's starting to be legalized in a lot of different states right now.
Yeah.
Because they want to tax it. Now they know about it now. They want to tax it, just like weed. They want to tax the weed. Now that they know it's a big business, now they want to legalize it so Uncle Sam can get his fair cut.
Dang.
We built a whole light rail from Aurora all the way to the Denver International Airport on weed, nothing else.
Yep.
Wow.
I'm telling you, like a lot of dudes think that choice without responsibility is going to be able to net them a gain that only works when a society is pre-made for you. It doesn't work in your favor if society is pre-made to work against you. Like a lot of people think that, oh man, well just give me to the sex first and I'll deal with the consequences later. Like, dude, we already got boomers, X's, millennials already facing the consequences of that. It's time to start clowning dudes who end up in these dumbass situations that they don't deserve to be in, and they come to the Manosphere to try to take over the entire conversation with their things that they could have easily left alone, but they try to make it's everybody else's problem when it's a personal problem. Like progress is the progress is the only thing that's personal to every man. Irresponsibility is not every man's journey. It's not. It isn't.
And it comes behind. You got to have mentorship. A lot of these young men are just running out there. They had no older person to seek any kind of information from. That's why when you said, how do you like black passport bros or black men travel, it's a good way for us, the older generation, to impart information like this to the younger ones that are just now getting out, exploring the world, using their passports, getting their stamps on. It's behooving on us to impart. I'll throw a question in the chat room or in the group, strictly about exchange rates. Are you paying attention to your exchange rate? Are you just charging everything on your card, hoping they're going to give you the lowest rate? Are you asking every store when you go in there what the exchange rate is for that store, because it will change from store to store.
And they don't care about what the exchange rate is. If you're willing
No,
to pay
they sure don't.
$50,
In any dollar you don't ask about, they'll keep for themselves. So you'll go in a room, and I put that out a couple times, and I got some phenomenal responses. But it opens your eyes and it opens their minds to understand, you're an American. You carry a lot of weight when you go into these other countries.
That's right.
Okay, even if you're black, you still carry a lot of weight. That money means a lot more to those people, because you are going to third world countries and countries that are at a financial and economic disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute they know you're a gringo, you can either be a mark or be aware.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the military, we had the buddy system. You don't go anywhere by yourself. I don't care if your boy got a girl and you didn't. Guess what? You're sleeping in a hotel room right next to him. Something go down, you rushing in there. Or if you had a double room, guess what? Y'all popping off together. That's just the way it went down. We watched each other's backs. Because you can be taken advantage of. I don't care how big of a dude. I'm 6'2". Ain't nobody messing with me. Half the people think I'm a security guard or a football player. So I can get jumped. Somebody can pull a gun on me. I'm in a whole nother country. You're at a disadvantage. Just because you're an American don't mean jack to them. Even the police will look at you like, yo, pay me off with a couple thousand peso and I'll let you walk, or I'm going to take you to jail.
Mm-hmm.
They used to hit us up in the military in Tijuana, right there off of San Diego. You had a curfew down there at 1 o'clock. You had to be off the streets because the federales will take you to an ATM and bleed your account. Or they'll take you to the border and report you for being out on the streets past 1. That was the game, not getting caught by the federales. Other countries are just as bad. But you got to be smart with your money. That's the point of going somewhere, right? Understanding financial literacy, understanding what an exchange rate is, gross domestic product. Somebody asked me about the Philippines. Well, how do you know that country is not stable enough? I said, the country has been stable for years. I was in the Philippines when I was in the military in the early 89 to 92. I've been there. Exchange rate was about 57 pesos per dollar. I told the person without even looking, it's been probably fluctuating low 40s to about mid 50s for the last 30 some years. Then when I went to go look, absolutely. Their economy does not change. They only have so many products that they can export. Everything's based off of GDP.
Right.
My country. So you get a stable country, and that's what somebody else asked. Where's the infrastructure? Well, Dominican Republic is nice, but the infrastructure is not there, where you still got rolling blackouts. You could lose all your power. No explanation. You just get used to it. But you go to Colombia and some other places where the infrastructure is a little more solid.
Right.
So there's a lot of different things you have to weigh out, and then you have to pick and choose what you're comfortable with. Even in your travels. But groups like, Passport Bros, I jumped right on it. Black Men's Travel, jumped right on it, man. I believe in imparting knowledge. That's how we get better as a people. I'm not going to keep it to myself. All the countries I've been to and the experiences I have, why keep it to myself? I want to encourage everybody to go out and see the world, because it opens up your mind to appreciate the things you have here in America, and then also appreciate some of the things that Americans are doing, where we think we're the only free nation in the world. No, that's not the case anymore. There's 128 free nation countries that you can go and live just like you're an American and have a better situation. So now, if you don't like the politics, and now if you don't like the people that are running the country, do you need to stay here? No. pick up and go somewhere else. Be a digital nomad. Make your money in America, exchange it over into whatever currency is in that country. Live like a king. I mean, that was the thing even in the military. A lot of people would retire in the Philippines and open up bars. Have a whole bunch of bar curls on Mama San, because you can go over to the Philippines and live like a king, a nice size house, and have maids come in and clean your house for pennies.
Yeah.
It's a mindset, and it's not made for everybody. Everybody don't have the same mindset. They might want to have the experience of traveling, and that's good. Get out there and see the world. But some people want to take it to the next level and do the digital nomad thing, or even look to transition into becoming an expat and retiring in one of those nations. Whichever one gives them the better advantage. But we all have different experiences in doing all that. So I love the groups that you guys have formed between Passport Bros and Black Men Travel. Awesome.
Right. It's other groups as well. But I definitely appreciate the contribution just from Black men that travel for those specific reasons. I appreciate the Save Yourself Black Man initiative too. I do think that we do need to start thinking about ourselves, because everybody has we may have overlapping interests with other groups of people, but at the end of the day, we have a special set of circumstances that's unique to us, what I mean, that we need to focus on. But if any of y'all got any parting words before I end the stream.
I just want to continue to encourage you to keep on doing what you're doing, man. Groups like this need to be there. Groups like this need to be in place for us to inform the ones that want to go out and experience the world information. And guys like you, the younger group, we appreciate you doing it. The older guys are looking at you like, yo, that's awesome. So I keep encourage you to continue.
Cool.
Yeah, man. And for me, I'm just happy to be a part of the conversation. Dude who's been there, and I'm just trying to get people to get out to explore early. Like, I left home at 17, off the graduation stage, right to the military, right to the Air Force. And I had the most fortunate appearance to go to Germany as my first station. That's where it all started. And
what a duty station first one. You had Germany?
Yeah.
Oh my
first station, right out the gate.
Oh, you were already losing your mind.
That's what I'm saying.
Especially at 17, 18 years old.
But as a cop, you couldn't engage in it all, because you seen various group of people, from meeting women, getting married to them, being divorced from them, having a kid from them, being taken by child support on. Dude, I had the whole gamut from 20 to 50 in front of my face every single day. And that's something that I've always liked about that experience. I didn't like the cop thing, but at the end of the day, I got like 60 years of knowledge in like 5 years.
Exactly. Looking at everybody's experiences and learning from those experiences that you see throughout the base and through the different stories, these other military guys. I mean, Philippines, same thing. Take me to the land of the big PX.
Yeah.
They come over here, marry you, get a couple kids. 3 years later, once they're officially American citizens, boom, they're gone.
Out of here.
That was the game. Some dudes wanted to go for it because they like contract marriage. Some dudes just had contract marriages.
Yeah.
They would marry a chick just so they can get the extra benefits, even though they weren't really married. They just call them contract marriage.
You had it in the dorms, people who wanted to get married just to live off base. Like, dude, you had
that's that's where the contract marriage came in, so they could live off base and get paid to live off base.
Yeah. I mean, $500 ain't much to us, but $500 over 5 or 6 years that you could be stationed in the same place,
right?
That's pretty stable. And those other two people are best friends, and they're just doing their own thing,
right?
Like, we forgot how to make deals with each other.
That's the number one thing. I've been twice married. All my sons are grown. My thing is about understandings. We're going to come to an understanding before we even go down this road. This is the way it's going to be. You're either down for it. I got time to waste. I'm 54, but I still ain't got time to waste. I'm trying to have fun, enjoy my life, residual income, all that, develop a couple more lines of residual income, travel the world and have some fun. I'm not waiting until I'm 65, 70, decrepit and can't move.
No, sir.
I'm doing that now.
I'm not having it, and nobody would show me this life. I made all the mistakes. I'm trying to, and I didn't make mistakes. I was just more disciplined, and I actually had all the actual benefits of it. But a lot of people think that they got to have the redemption story. I'm like, dude, you are the redemption story. You don't need to make all these mistakes that these people have made, because most of these failures are trying to make you into the redemption story to try to put you 20 years behind them, right? So it's like, we are in a better position. There's no reason to go into any type of circumstances for any delineated reason, man. But thanks for having me on, man. No excuses, man.
Oh yeah, I appreciate y'all, man. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna be, doing these pop-ups probably weekly as I build this channel, because I already got for those who don't know, I got the No Excuse channel as well. But this one is just gonna be for for the brothers, for us to have different conversations. So I appreciate y'all, and I'll holler at y'all tomorrow night. I got somebody that's gonna be traveling South Africa soon, so we're gonna talk about why he.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I've been pushing South Africa, so he's gonna go out there for like a month. So we're gonna talk to him about what made him make that decision. So
I had a friend. She just flew down there as an Asian chick. She flew down there for about a week or so, and enjoyed the hell out of it.
Oh yeah, it's a nice country.
I was surprised they actually have penguins down there. I was like, what the fuck is a penguin doing in Africa?
Oh yeah,
but it's at the southern tip, so I can get why a penguin would be there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it tripped me out. Like, aren't you in Africa? What's the penguin for?